Hello, I'm Angela Singleton with Singleton Educational Services. Today's video is about earning the high school diploma. Believe it or not, for homeschoolers, this has many options. The Florida Homeschool Law allows the parent to decide when the child graduates and under what requirements. Now, this is very different from the public or private school, right? Florida public school requirements are set. You have five options to choose from depending on your school availability. You can choose the standard diploma, which most of us are familiar with, the 24 credits. You can choose the academically challenging curriculum to enhance learning, which is 18 credits, a career and technical education pathway, 18 credits, an IB program, an advanced international certificate of education curriculum, which usually uses the AP courses and tests. All right, so there are many options. And one might ask and question, how come the homeschool law is so lenient? How come it's up to the parent? That doesn't make sense. And what about college, right? So here's something to keep in mind. While the homeschool law allows the parent to decide when the child has finished high school and thus graduates, they also need to keep in mind, what are the child's plans after high school? This is the most critical part. Just like in public school or private school, they take after high school plans into consideration for which form or which journey, approach, path the child takes to finishing and graduating high school. Okay, so for homeschool students, it's really important that we decide, is the child going to college or not? Yes or no? And if they're going to college, are they doing a career technical path? Or are they going for the associates, the bachelor's, and maybe even grad school? So we need to know, what are the child's interests and what are their academic strengths or weaknesses, right? This comes into play when homeschool parents decide what criteria they are going to require their child to complete for their high school diploma. So, if your child is headed to college, you most definitely want to follow the standard diploma pathway. If your child's headed to a career technical trade, a career school, that's totally different. I would aim towards completing the requirements for them to get into that program. They can start that program in dual enrollment, or they can start it after high school. Now, depending on your child's strengths, weaknesses, struggles, and goals after high school, their high school program's gonna look completely different, right? Everything is based on their plans. So if you have a child that struggles academically, has learning disabilities, you may want to tailor it down to life skills and challenging them to the point of not stressing, right? So we want to build them up and prepare them for whatever they're going to do later. If your child is academically gifted and has strong interests, say, in being a teacher or being an engineer or being a musician or, gosh, anything, right? A vet, a doctor, well, then you want to tailor their high school program to prepare them to get into college for those fields, right? Sometimes that might mean you need to plan dual enrollment. Sometimes that means you don't. It completely depends on the colleges that they are targeting after high school. All right, so now the Florida Standard Diploma. It's the standard 24 high school credit um, certificate or diploma, and it has 4 English courses, This can be English or language arts, literature, right? This has 4 mathematics, including Algebra 1 and geometry. Now, if they're headed to college, colleges want to see Algebra 2 and usually another math after that, whether it's pre-calc, trig, statistics. 3 sciences are required. That includes a biology with lab and 1 other course with lab. Okay, so 3 sciences you pick. This could be the standard biology, chemistry, physics. It could be a physical science, a general science. It could be astronomy. It could be environmental science. There's a lot of sciences to explore. So you decide, it just has to be at a high school level. 3 social studies. Now the standard is world history, US government, and economics. Our state of Florida requires economics to have financial literacy with it. Now, as homeschoolers, we can adjust this. So we could choose a specific world history, maybe history of China or Asia, history of the United Kingdom. You can pick, you can mix and match. You could do Eastern world history, which would be like Asia, right? You can pick European history. That falls under world history. So it depends. If you want to just do the standard, an overall view of world history over the World War I and II up to current times, you can do that. You can do ancient world history, way before the world wars, right? You can be really creative with this. So if your child has a very specific interest from maybe middle school studies, they can explore that and you can count it as world history. Now, US history, same approach. You can cover the standard US history back from the 1700s to the current. You could do 1700s to the late 1800s. You could do mid 1800s to now. You can mix and match. You can decide how you want US history to look. US government, same thing. You could focus specifically on civics, or you could do a whole study on government and politics. And economics. We have macroeconomics, microeconomics. You can cover both. You could do one of them, right? So it's up to you. And you don't have to stick to these exact assigned credits. So if your child studied world history, the early world history and the later world history, and it's equivalent to 2 years of high school study, you could give them 2 credits for that. It's all right. So the standard diploma for Florida is based on what the public schools are offering. Okay, it's based on what their primary structure is. As homeschoolers, we can tailor this, we can adjust it. So if your child studied 1 semester of economics in college, then you can count it as the economics credit. All right, so now fine arts, fine and performing arts, speech and debate, and practical arts. Your child needs 1 credit of this if you're following the standard diploma. If you also, you need 1 credit of physical education that includes an integration of health. So we generally think of phys ed as something sports related, something physical, right? Did you realize when you look at the Florida Department of Education list of courses with their course number, you can get this huge printout, this file, right? There are several course numbers under physical education for high school. So you could do a class on nutrition. You could get really specific, sports nutrition. You could study anything in the health related area and count it under the phys ed credit. I think that's marvelous. You could also integrate, right? And you could say, maybe your family likes to go hiking or biking, or maybe your child's in a sport, or maybe they're on the swim team. you can count all of those towards your physical education. Just include something health related, right? Maybe it's healthy eating choices, maybe it's making good decisions for your body, reducing sugar. You decide what you want to integrate as health and you can write it up. All right, so now 8 electives, whatever they want to be. My kids chose electives mostly in music, basically studying the arts. They love the arts, so they have orchestra credit, they have private instrument credit, we have music theory credit, we have music composition credit. We have a lot of electives in our family because the kids study so many extra things. And then one course online. An easy way to satisfy this is Florida Virtual School, but your child isn't required to do that, right? They could choose to use Florida Virtual School, but you can use something else. We've used Khan Academy. We've used Virtual Homeschool Group, Coursera. There's so many different options and you write it up. So you keep hearing me say write it up. What I mean by that is you're going to write a course description for each of these classes that you're giving your child credit for in high school. Now, if that scares you, don't worry, I offer that service. So I can meet with you and we can discuss what your child completed for the course, maybe what textbooks were used or other resources, and I'll write it up. I offer that service. Okay, so now if you're in the public school or private school and you're following the Florida Standard Diploma, you'll see here at the bottom that there's additional criteria for those students. They must meet the state assessment requirements and have a 2.0 or higher. In homeschool, there's no state assessment requirements. You, as the educator and advisor, make the assessment for your child. Okay, so you don't have to test. But if your child is homeschooled for part of high school and then moves back into public school, that public school has to take your transcripts, but they might ask that your child do an assessment test for, say, algebra or biology, some of the required courses, all right? So you got to keep that in mind. Now, again, I mentioned transcript. Don't get scared, but homeschoolers are required to create their own transcripts. Now, if you're uncomfortable doing this, don't worry, I offer that service too. So you're welcome to reach out to me and let me know you need my help, and I'll create your transcripts for you. Okay, so now, big question for many families with kids intending to go to college or doing dual enrollment. How do I apply college credit as high school credit? Now, I've made a video already, a previous video on acquiring college credit in high school. There are many ways. You can dual enroll at the college or university. You can take CLEP exams and you can take AP exams. They all count as college credit. And you can also use those to count towards your high school diploma. So you can use the college or university's equivalency credit guide that they provide. They'll tell you this course is worth 1 high school credit. This course is worth a half high school credit. You can use that as your guide. You can also decide for yourself what you feel it's worth. Okay, so if your child had an environmental science class, for example, it doesn't actually have a lab. Well, according to the equivalency credit chart, they would say that it's worth a half credit because there was no lab. All right, now you can evaluate the coursework and the amount of assignments, the type of assignments, and decide if it was worth a whole credit or a half credit. And you can designate that accordingly on your child's transcripts. Now, the only thing that might happen is it might get adjusted when your child applies to college. So depending on the college they apply to or university, they will reevaluate everything on your transcript and may make adjustments to the credits issued based on your course description, okay? So anyways, if your child's taking a college course, save the syllabus that the professor provides. That will serve as your course description. Okay, so now, generally speaking, a 3 or 4 credit college course will count as one high school credit. There are some differences though. So like a science without lab is a half credit. There's some others, there's some maybe intermediate math might only count as a half credit. So you need to pay attention to that and just see. But again, you can assign what you believe the equivalency to be for your child based on the work that they did. Again, just keep in mind the college or university you apply to later might adjust it, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, all English composition, writing, and literature classes will count as an ELA high school credit, okay? So my child did some English classes at home. I gave credit for that. They also dual enrolled and took English composition. They took creative writing. They clept out of American literature and analyzing and interpreting literature. All of these count as credits. There's some more. Oh, they also completed some additional at-home literature classes. So you can give credit for all of them. You just need the syllabus from the professor or your course description to describe the course, okay? Now, the course descriptions are only required if your child does apply to college later. If they're not going to go to college, then you do not have to have course descriptions. Okay, now, your math courses and statistics and sometimes computer science classes can all count as a high school math credit. There's a lot of different math classes, right? A lot of different math courses, but statistics, that counts as a math credit. So keep that in mind, all right? If your child struggles with math, well, pick something else that they can get through without as much struggle that you can count as a math credit. Okay, so how do I determine which associate's degree to follow? This is for dual enrollment families. Okay, so if your child's going to dual enroll and the intentions are to complete an associate's degree, and you want to use that degree or some of the courses from that degree, maybe they are not going to finish it, but will complete most of it, some of that will follow or some of that will apply to your standard diploma, okay? So which one do you use or how do you help your child prepare? A lot of times this question relates to parents who say have an 8th or 9th grader and they're curious, how do I plan high school to prepare them later for their associate's degree? And so this comes down to what major do they think they want to complete? What do they want to study? And do they want the Associates of Arts or Associates of Science? So if you're not sure and they really have no idea, then I would start with the general plan for the AA. Now you have some time with this because they include the same math and the same English and the same history requirements, same science requirements. So I would complete those first and then see, does your child have more of a specific interest for a major? And then look at the degree completion for, or the degree program for completion of a specific AA major. So if your child's going to study the arts, study, say, computer science or study music or maybe visual arts, their program is going to be very much English and literature based, right, versus the sciences. Now, if your child's going to be a biologist or a chemist or a vet or a nutritionist or maybe an engineer, right? They need to have heavy math and sciences because many of those programs are pre-med or equivalent. So it's important to have an idea as early as you can where your child is headed. If they just have no idea, but they're academically gifted, well, then prepare them for potentially heading towards the sciences. Okay. If they struggle with math and science, then I wouldn't push them towards that. If they absolutely love engineering topics or building things or repairing things, but they're not gifted in the math and sciences, then maybe consider a technical program. There's so many to choose from and they pay very well. Okay, so now if you need additional help or guidance in your high school planning, I'm here to help. I can assist with tutoring, curriculum planning, academic advising, career planning, your high school and college prep, right? So if your child's in middle school and you want to prep for high school, come have an advising session with me. I can help you with that. If you're in college prep mode, you're preparing for that college application or trying to finish planning high school so that your child can maximize their college experience or have the best academic portfolio for their college application, talk to me. I can help you with that. This is my area of specialty. If you need assistance with writing course descriptions or creating transcripts, again, I offer those services. I'd be happy to help you. All right, I would love it and appreciate it if you would follow me on YouTube and find me on Facebook and like my page. I'm here to help you. Again, I'm Angela Singleton with Singleton Educational Services. Have a wonderful day.